Sorry, I had to grab Chance, and the video got cut off, so I'm gonna have to just make this a two-parter. But yeah, the executive branch, you know, it's important, but it's not as important as you think it is. Uh-oh, he sees somebody. Oh, there we go. What are you looking at? What are you looking at? God damn it. You know, some people are just so... Some people are just so rude. Yeah, so the executive branch. The executive branch is important in that the executive branch appoints judges, or jurists as they're called, to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is one of the, you know, bodies of the federal government: legislative, executive, judicial. And you know, those aren't lifetime appointments. Those can be life-changing appointments. Those can be life-altering appointments. For instance, when the Supreme Court had ruled that, you know, separate but equal is legal, which separate is not equal. I mean, it's an oxymoron. If you're separate, how are you equal? Equal is equal. Equal equals equal. Like, it's equal. But, and so in the Supreme Court, you know, you'll see a plethora of rulings where they voted one way, they voted the opposite way, they voted back the other way, they voted the other way. And, you know, they're constantly kind of hopscotching around, or kangaroo court, to use a phrase, you know, depending on the flavor of the Supreme Court at that era. And so the president, the executive, appoints the Chief Justice, whoever the Chief Justice is at the time. You know, say there's a Chief Justice, remember it was in Bush, it was William Rehnquist. Well, then he then gets appointed. He passes away, he dies, he retires. Bush then appoints a new one. And then you have the sub-judges, the secondary judges. I forget what you call them right at this moment. And they also get appointed by the president. And so the president appoints him, but doesn't just put them doesn't just put them in. They have to still be voted upon by the Senate. Again, the checks and balances. Checks and balances. Checks and balances. Check, check, check. Balance, balance, balance. That's something the founding fathers hammered away at when it comes to the government. And, excuse me, another main job of the federal government, still kind of thirsty, another main job, hey, Chance, wait, thank you. Another main job of the federal government is, drum roll please, revenue collection. And this is important. Well, because nothing can, nothing can do nothing without, nothing plus nothing equals nothing, but revenue is important because that's how the wheels of government turn. Money gets spent on services. Money gets spent on things. Money gets spent on infrastructure. Money gets spent on social services. Money gets spent on recreational services. Money gets spent, everyone has to get paid too that work in government. All those House of Representative members, Senate members, all the staff members, the executive branch, all their staff members, all those things, the Secret Service, the FBI, the CIA, all those things, they all need to get paid. They should. If they're working a job, you should get paid. And so, but the president can't just collect money willy-nilly, or he used to anyway. That's the job of the House of Representatives. And a tariff is, say it with me now, tariffs are import taxes. Tariffs are import taxes. And they are paid for by the importer. Yeah. Not the exporter. They're paid for by the importer. In most cases, the people that buy the goods and services pay the tariff tax, not the exporter. They might have to pay some extra fees in terms of that, but they don't pay the they don't really pay it. It's the people for the country the product is being imported to that pay. My hair's just not cooperating today. That pays that tax, and the executive that's not their job. That's not their purview. That is taxation without representation. You remember the Boston Tea Party, where a bunch of white guys dressed up in red face and threw the tea over the harbor because they didn't like the tariffs that the king was applying to their tea. And that's really what that was. It was a tariff. It was an import tax, not an export tax, an import tax. And so you need to be aware of these things. You need to be knowledgeable about what's going on in your government. Otherwise, they're going to, if there aren't the checks and balances, they're going to take advantage of you. And right now, Trump is taking advantage of the system. The House of Representatives isn't doing their job of checking the executive, and so he's able to just now we get into the minutia of it. There's the third branch of government, the judicial. And they recently had a court ruling that was opposed to the president's tariffs, which, if you read anything, they had to vote that way because that would be, it would be antithetical to what they are as a Justice Department. The taxes, that court ruling was spot on, and I don't think it went far enough. But I'll take it. Now normally we've been having this issue, right, with the Supreme Court of the Senate during Obama's term really fucked Obama. They didn't allow him to replace a justice who died, and they waited a whole year. They said, "Oh well, this is our choice of the Mitch McConnell, the then leader of the Senate. This is the choice of the American people should choose." Like, well, wait a minute. We did choose. We elected a president. He's still president for another full 300 and something days a year. So why can't he use that authority to that's his constitutional right to appoint judges. Now the Senate has the right to not vote for him, like they did with Ronald Reagan and his appointment of Robert Bork, which was, I mean, that guy is just, he was just not, I mean, take that back. He was a scholar. He was a very educated man. He had some good ideas and philosophies, but he was just not the right guy for the job at the time. The Senate knew that. The Senate said, no, we're not voting for him. And Reagan ended up picking Sandra Day O'Connor instead, and that's the way it is. And so, yeah, the Supreme Court, is very, very influential. For instance, they decide whether or not a woman has a right to choose her own choice. For instance, Roe v. Wade, the abortion ruling. Roe v. Wade was a Supreme Court ruling that allowed women in all 50 states to have the freedom. You're listening? You're listening? To have the freedom to choose whether or not they want a certain type of medical care, meaning an abortion. Hey, I'm just waving at someone. So that ruling didn't mean that abortions were forced upon everyone. That ruling didn't mean that people had to provide abortion care to those who didn't agree with it. Only thing that ruling meant was if you, the citizen, the voter, the constituent, if you choose between you and your doctor that this is the choice to make, then you make that choice. And to me, that's kind of like the point of all these videos. It's choice. Choice. Freedom is about choice. And choice, some people don't like, for instance, some people don't like pineapple on their pizza. Well, you don't have to have pineapple on your pizza. That's why you have a choice between a pineapple or a pepperoni. You have the choice. Choice is important. And I think that's where a lot of the times government is getting things wrong. Really wrong. It's because they're taking away people's choice in lieu of someone else's ideology. Like, I don't agree with that. Everyone should do what I say. And I think that's wrong. I do not think anyone should be forced to believe or practice any of the beliefs or opinions I have. You can vote for whatever person you want. You can believe whatever viewpoints you want. But the federal government, with its checks and balancing system, makes it so everyone is able to exercise that choice, use that choice. If I don't want something, don't want it. If you do want something, go ahead. And that is, the Supreme Court. Sorry, getting off the topic here. The Supreme Court is one of the most, if not the most influential bodies in the three branches of government. You can almost kind of lump the other two together because they kind of complement each other, the executive and the legislative. One can't do with one what the other one does, but the Supreme Court can kind of just rule on this, rule on that, rule on this, rule on that, and there's no checks and balance. Well, there is action. Sorry, there are checks and balances when it comes to judicial rulings. States can then pass laws. Said, oh, I don't agree with that. Like, for instance, abortion. So I'm talking about abortion so much, but it's healthcare. It's not murder. It's healthcare. Kansas, that liberal shithole Kansas. Kansas voted to uphold its right for its female citizens to choose or not choose an abortion. To choose or not choose that form of medical care. And that's all. I mean, that's what's wrong with that, And if enough states, if enough people are upset about a certain ruling, a legislative ruling, a judicial ruling, that check and balance comes in the form of a constitutional amendment. And so a certain amount of state houses and senates, and like I said, I believe in the other video, state government consists of your assembly and your state senate. So state senate, don't confuse state senators with federal senators. It'd be a little confusing sometimes, some people, but it's not. So once enough state houses, meaning that bicameral house, once that votes on it, it will go from state to state to state to state. And once enough states have voted on a certain issue, it can then went down the wrong tube there. It can then be voted upon by the Congress, the House of Representatives and the Senate, and become a constitutional amendment. Amendments, I know. Amendments, I know, come on. No, we're not going over there today. I know. I'm on the phone today. We're not going over there. We'll go over there tomorrow. We'll go see her tomorrow. He's trying to drag me over to... I know. They're not here today. I don't know. He's upset because we're walking by this house that has a dog and they're not here. I know. Stop crying. So, I mean, it's okay. It'll be fun. He cries a lot. He's not much of a barker, but he cries. So, the amendments, that's another check and balance. If people don't like what laws are passed, if people don't like what judicial rulings are passed, they can then amend the Constitution. And once you amend the Constitution, it's kind of set in stone unless you re-amend it. And they have done that. They had a constitutional amendment that said, I believe it was a constitutional amendment that said black people are worth 3/4 of a vote. But then they amended that to allow them to vote. And and it's fine. That's why it is considered a living, breathing document, because it can be amended. It can be changed. It can be updated. And that is like a fail-safe, a stopgap measure to make sure your freedoms are protected. And I don't feel like we're exercising that enough. I think we should be doing more constitutional amendments to especially to protect from fascism, protect from authoritarianism, protect from racism and bigotry. Like the constitutional amendment for marriage was one that was updated, so that marriage is not just between one man and one woman. It still is. One man and one woman can get married, but now, because of the amendment, one man and one man, one woman and one woman, two trans, and a trans and a trans, a woman and a trans, a man and a trans. So you now have freedom, have liberty, wherein everyone in the country, all citizens, can choose which path they want to go down. Now, it's not forcing gay marriage upon anyone. It's not promoting gay marriage upon anyone. It's not inhibiting. It doesn't belittle your straight marriage. It just allows others to have that same freedom that you have. And I think that's where we've kind of lost our ways here when it comes to governance, good governance, is that you, under the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, you're entitled to certain freedoms, inalienable rights, as they say. That's your entitlement. That's your liberty. And that's why we have this form of government. Come here. Somebody's thirsty. Here it is. Come here. Oh, look at him. Look, he looks like he's taking a break. He's not. What he's doing is, we walked by this house before. We walk by this house every day because we walk every day. But someone came out and visited and greeted with him, and so now every time we're on a walk and we go by a certain house, he just does this. Because it's not like I don't give him enough attention. I'm with him 24 hours a day. Like he's always by my side. And I walk him, What is this, like? We left the house at like 8 o'clock. It's almost like 11. And then we're going to get home and throw the ball for a while. So it's like, it's not like he doesn't get attention. Mom's always giving him stuff and Dad's always playing with him. Well, not so much Dad recently because he had a hernia surgery, but, sorry, I finally got that. I had this bad thorn in my hand. It finally came out. Sometimes they just push their way out. So, sorry, lost track here. I'm dyslexic, by the way, if I didn't tell you. So, a lot of these videos are going to jump around a little bit, but if you watch them all, I think you get a good information. And I think we've lost our way with federal government because of the taxation issue. Instead of using the tax code to incentivize, say, livable wages, companies that provide benefits and maybe even housing, paid time off, paid family leave, paid vacation, those kinds of things. We instead just take a bunch of tax money and just give it to fucking Peter Thiel and Elon Musk and all these Jeff Bezos, like they need more money. Oh, and the Republicans say, oh, but they're job creators. Yeah, but they're not good job creators. They're not doing really much philanthropy with their money either. Like the biggest welfare queen in the world is not someone on food stamps. It's Elon Musk. He gets so much money in government tax incentives that it would make you sick if you realized that the majority of his wealth comes from the federal government, not from him. It comes from your tax dollars, my tax dollars, our tax dollars. So, and that's why I don't like fascism. That's why I support our original form of government so much. The Constitution, the Bill of Rights, these things that make sure we're not being overly taxed, that our tax dollars are spent adequately and equally, that our representatives are listening to our needs and desires and wants and passing legislation. You know how many bills Congress passed last year? It was basically, except for maybe one or two here or there, it was basically one. The one big, beautiful bill. See, so what Congress did was, instead of passing all these little bills that they know most people wouldn't support, they put them all into one big bill. Passed it that way. Because no one's going to read a trillion-page document, right? And that's kind of fucked up, because these people are supposed to, I have my glasses. These people are supposed to be working for us, not working for Trump. You don't work for the executive branch, you work for the people. You should be passing legislation for the people. And I just don't know what to do about it other than educate my fellow Americans and friends about what is wrong, what it should be, why it should be that, and how we can make it that. I want something better. I want, and look, I was kind of disappointed with Obama. He didn't go far enough on many, many things. He did what Clinton did, where he moved to the center. And I was so upset with Obama after his first term. I almost voted for Mitt Romney, which Mitt Romney was a great Republican. That was a good Republican. Willard Mitt Romney. He was a good guy. I liked him. And John McCain, too. John McCain was another good guy. So, just know, when I post about these things and when I'm railing against these things, it's not because of I'm a snowflake or I hate conservatives or I want you to not have, I want to take your guns away. No, it's the opposite of that. I want to embolden all the amendments of the Constitution, including the second. If you want a gun, buy a gun. If you want to legally have that gun, fine. But you should have to go through the process of, just like with a vehicle, you should have to go through the process of proving you can have that gun. You are allowed to have that gun. And then make sure guns don't get into the hands of, say, some nut job who's going to go shoot up a school of preschoolers. I don't like seeing these things. I don't like seeing death in school. I don't like seeing Americans shot on the street. And getting back to the federal government discussion, one of the major increases to federal government spending and federal government executive branch spending and executive branch power, which I almost would call overreach, was during the Bush years after 9/11, which I understand it. We were attacked. We needed to defend ourselves. But ICE was a creation of the Patriot Act and other agencies, Homeland Security. Now, were these agencies needed? Probably. Could they have been implemented better? You betcha. Should we just abolish some of these agencies? Yeah. Should we reinstate them in a better form? Why not? So, I hope this kind of helps you understand my thinking and my thought process when it comes to good governance. I know I didn't touch on everything, because there's so many different agencies when it comes to the federal government. I mean, I could talk for hours and hours about it. But I want you to know that none of the things that I say or do are malicious in intent. None of my opinions are the opinion that I want you to not have. I want you to have. I want you to have freedoms. I want you to have liberty. I want you to be able to exercise those freedoms and liberty. But what I want is choice. I want choice. Get over. I want choice. Choice is important. Choice is necessary. Choice is what makes everything good. Hey, Chance, come on. Just lay down right there. You're not going over there. Lay down. Lay down. Hey, lay down. I swear to God, if you roll and poop, good boy. See? He's a little tired and I'm a little tired from talking. Can we see him? Can you see him? Hi, buddy. Hi. Say hello. Say hello. Oh, who's got eye boogies? Who's got eye boogies? Ew. Alright. Well, I think I'm going to leave it at that for this video. And like I said, I just... No. Not going over there. No. Come on, lay down. Just lay down. Lay down. Come on, lay down. Whatever. He's being a little shithead. But yeah, I want something better. For you, for me, for everyone. And my next video, I hope, will be helpful. I know I kind of jump around a lot, but look, I didn't write a script. I am dyslexic, so I sometimes have a hard time with my thought processes. But I don't want to lose my country to fascism. And that's going to be the next one. We're going to talk about fascism, racism, bigotry, and how it affects the social aspects of life. So stay tuned. gonna be a lot more videos. There's a couple of videos I was gonna do as one whole video, but I think I'm gonna cut them up. I'm gonna do another whole video about I don't know. I kind of forgot about what that. All right. So I think that's good enough for now. He's getting antsy, and I'm good boy. Good boy. Who's a good boy? Look at his stomach there. He's good. He's tired. Good. I got some water here for him too. I got a bottle of water. I'd rather post videos about the dog or pictures and posts about the dog and plants, but you just had to vote for a fascist, and so here we are. And most of this stems from the nasty videos I got, or not videos, I'm sorry, the nasty responses I got on Facebook. Sometimes, some of them were death threats. Most of them were just insults, Yeah, you're a fag. Yeah, you look dirty. Yeah, you're homeless. Blah, 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 blah. And live in your mom's basement and blah, 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 blah. You know what? If you didn't realize, oh look, he's nesting. See, look, he's nesting. He's digging there. See? Dogs do. See, he's digging himself a little nest. I think he is. Sometimes he does that. He digs down to get to the dirt and lays down in it. Yeah, see? I mean, I regret wearing this jacket too today. Like, it was cold when we left the house, but that's what I love about winter. It's, you see the tree, we're still in winter. It's a beautiful tree, but I'll make a video about trees later, but yeah. All right. Thank you. I appreciate you. And I love you. Keep up the faith. Fuck fascism.